she pulled out all the stops. Here is the intro of the episode.
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview. It's happening!
It's not about the grandeur of a gesture. It's about I see you. I'm nurturing you and I see you so deeply. And I love being able to see your growth. Of all things, it's making me emotional.
I have full body chills right now.
For them to be able to look back and go, oh my gosh, she has loved us so much.
Oh, you know what's going on. Someone wanted a lot of attention, and now they got it.
That was the whole episode.
That was the ep.
Yeah.
That was the
Meghan Markle cried, allegedly. But Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just dropped a podcast-sized truth bomb so brutal it might have short-circuited her tear ducts. Was it heartfelt emotion or a performance that could win a Golden Globe in royal fiction? Either way, the internet's not buying it, and neither are these two. Get ready for sarcasm, savagery, and suspicious sniffles, because this takedown isn't just petty, it's Pulitzer-worthy. What really happened behind those royal waterworks? You're about to find out.
Oh, you like her.
Let me count the ways. There's nothing I like about her. She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim. My castle's too small. Yeah. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends, while she never stops whining. And at the same time, I'm getting all worked up. I'm a founder. I'm over it. She's not important. She married for money. It's very clear. She bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a quote.
So Meghan Markle cried, or at least that's what she wants you to believe. Cue the dramatic piano music, a dimly lit recording studio, and the duetting tones of the Duchess's strategic vulnerability, pausing between every syllable like she's waiting for an invisible audience to hand her a tissue. But wait, what's that? A tear? Nope, not a single one. Just immaculate lighting and a quivering voice that probably took 3 takes and a dialect coach to get right.
Contrast all of that with the way she talks about H and their relationship. Here is it. Is it 46 or 47, Lauren? You choose. Go for it. 47.
That his heart is even more beautiful.
I love that your eyes are sparkling right now.
Oh.
Oh my God. Dan, I threw up in my mouth.
Yes. Yes.
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her. What? Wow, who communicates like that? She's the only thing saving Meghan Markle, because between the two, she's even weirder. But Meghan Markle, this is a tell. Okay, this is a tell. It's the same way on Valentine's Day. You see people post like, my rock, my life partner, the person who saved me. Guaranteed that guy is cheating on her. And
Enter the skeptics, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly. 2 people who wouldn't believe a weather forecast from Meghan, let alone a spontaneous emotional breakdown, conveniently timed with her podcast's new season launch. While they never appeared on screen together, and Meghan, of course, issued no rebuttal, it was like watching 2 very different bulldozers flatten the same over-decorated tent. One did it laughing. The other did it with a smirk and a spreadsheet.
Okay. How much time did she have for this when she was on Suits, when she was doing the TIG, when she was trying to land the ginger from the royal family to marry her? Apparently none, by her own admission. But now she wants us to believe, okay, she's Nigerian and she's going to, I'll believe it when I see it. I look forward to all the time she spends in Nigeria helping the Nigerian people.
Full disclosure, I do think Harry's a but
he seems to be, and it seems like that lady is a temptress. She's a siren. She's lured him into the rocks.
First up, Joe Rogan, our modern-day philosopher king who specializes in calling out nonsense while chugging elk meat and conspiracy theories. In a recent episode, Joe went on a glorious rant about podcast fakery. He didn't name names. He didn't have to. The shoes he was throwing around were glass slippers, and Meghan's feet practically sprinted into them. Joe has a nose for inauthenticity, the way a bloodhound sniffs out steak. He dissected the anatomy of performative, crying like a surgeon with a machete. Why are podcasts suddenly emotional minefields?
It's very strange.
But it's also very strange that he was, essentially infiltrated by a very ambitious actress. She used to be on Deal or No
infiltrated?
Deal. She was one of the Deal or No Deal ladies.
The way it works? Is he infiltrated or was she infiltrated?
Well, it depends on who's getting pegged.
Yeah.
It depends on the methods.
And now
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, look, she was on Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with a briefcase.
She didn't like being objectified on Deal. And did you think it was an executive position, ma'am?
Yeah.
You're one of the hot ladies holding up a suitcase for fucking. I mean, it's a game show. Like, how are you objectified?
I forgot about that show.
That's literally.
Since when did spilling tears on a mic become the gold standard of relatability? According to Joe, the modern podcast isn't about truth. It's about tear quotas and trauma as clickbait. And Meghan's podcast? Well, let's just say it hit all the right cues. Pregnant pauses, dramatic tone shifts, and what sounded suspiciously like a quivering lip without any actual crying. If podcasts had Oscars, she'd be clearing space on the shelf. Except the audience wasn't clapping. They were Googling, is Meghan Markle acting again? Joe's take? Simple. If you cry while managing your own production team, directing your own camera angles, and likely editing the sobs in post, maybe, just maybe, you're not exactly raw and vulnerable. Maybe you're just really, really good at pretending to be. Of course, Joe did what Joe does best. He laughed. He laughed at the trend, at the absurdity, and at the fact that some people genuinely think authenticity comes with background music and perfect hair. His monologue turned into an autopsy of celebrity emotion, revealing not just Meghan's tearless tears, but an entire industry built on emotional manipulation and soft focus lighting.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated. Who the hell picks berries in a white cashmere blouse and white pants? Literally no one on earth does that. And like this garden, which is like the most over the top, like we're all supposed to go, Maureen, to make our breakfast in the morning out to our gardens and pick our berries, our raspberries, our strawberries, our blueberries, our snozberries, and cut our mint, and then cut our flowers that are edible. But don't worry, she's a woman of the people. You can grow those just on your windowsill at home in New York, your edible flowers.
And don't forget your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
Your local beekeeper.
Oh, yeah, because she has a bee hive, which she goes to. That's how they open the whole series with her bees. And like, don't worry, if you don't have this, just go to your local beekeeper. Clearly, we're living in different
Now, while Joe was lighting the emotional bonfire with a blowtorch of sarcasm, Megyn Kelly came marching in with a laser pointer and a clipboard. She didn't just roll her eyes. She rolled out the whole surveillance tape. Unlike Joe, Megyn didn't do the whole wink-wink, nudge-nudge thing. She named names, pulled up the receipts, and pretty much told Meghan Markle that if she's going to cry, she should at least try moisturizing first, because nothing says inauthentic like a tearless cry and a perfectly contoured cheekbone. Meghan took one look at that podcast and said, "That's not emotion, that's lighting design." She called out the controlled cadence, the conveniently timed vocal cracks, and the glaring absence of any actual evidence of crying. No sniffling, no gasping, no mascara streaks. It was the most composed breakdown since scripted reality TV. She walked her audience through the anatomy of the alleged emotional moment like a crime scene analyst. This was not vulnerability. This was production. This was a Duchess of Drama doing her finest impression of someone who had just finished watching a sad commercial about puppies in need. Only instead of reaching for tissues, Meghan reached for her microphone.
The only thing she found was a rich, famous husband. If that's what constitutes being a founder, then sure, Meghan Markle's a founder. She found a mansion in Montecito to live in. She found a sit-down interview with Oprah to bash and shank her in-laws and accuse them of racism. But founding, putting your name on some cheap jellies, jams, and dog biscuits, I don't know, sounds like a fall from grace.
Meghan didn't stop at the podcast either. Oh no, she connected the dots. The tears came just as Meghan launched her next brand initiative. Coincidence? About as much as rain in England. Suddenly, Meghan was once again the wounded Duchess bravely bearing her soul, just as her name needed trending again. Funny how that works. And the public? Oh! They saw through it like a wet paper towel. Social media went full forensic scientist. One zoomed in on her eyes, dry as a desert. Another did a side-by-side comparison with actual crying people for reference. Reddit turned into a full-blown investigation unit. There were charts. There were memes. There was someone with a whiteboard and string connecting Meghan to a bottle of eye drops. People weren't buying the act. Not when a supposed sorrow looked like it had been scheduled between hair appointments and brand strategy meetings. Not when an emotional monologue ended with a PR rollout slicker, then a royal gala. And in case there was still any doubt, the timing was just too deliciously suspicious. The moment of vulnerability landed smack dab in the middle of a major publicity push. You could practically hear the PR team shouting, "Cue the emotions and action."
So I'm a little bit fascinated, right? The mother was born in America. The father was born in America. But Meghan is now telling us that she's 43% Nigerian?
This is the most ridiculous. This is the same woman who said, I never even considered my blackness until the British tabloids started to make a thing out of it. Never even. Now she's like, I am Nigeria. Fellow women, hear me roar. I mean, who is she kidding?
This wasn't pain. This was packaging. This wasn't raw honesty. This was reheated leftovers from her Oprah performance, only now with more podcast filters and slightly better sound quality. Together, Joe and Meghan created the perfect tag team. He brought the gut instinct and comedic eye rolls. She brought the legal argument and the courtroom lighting. He laughed at the concept. She dissected the execution. They didn't need to agree or collaborate. Their points met in the middle like two arrows shot at the same cardboard crown. And all Meghan had to do to trigger this? Simulate emotion with all the sincerity a Hollywood script table read. To some, she's an icon of resilience. To others, she's the ultimate brand ambassador for emotional monetization 101. There's a reason people are skeptical. This is someone who spent years telling us she wants privacy, on a Netflix docuseries, on the cover of magazines, and now in a tier list breakdown beamed into headphones worldwide. Nothing says leave me alone like a perfectly engineered podcast monologue about your pain, complete with dramatic music and soft focus.
This is a true story. One time, I just woke up, I'm in my underwear, I plop down in front of the TV, I turn it on. The moment I turn it on, Prince Harry's talking shit about me. I'm like, I just woke up! I'm vulnerable! I'm in my underwear and there's a Prince on TV. Do you know how fucking weird it is when a Prince knows your name? He's like, Joe Rogan's giving out dangerous vaccine misinformation! And my first thought was, fuck, did I? I might have. But here's my take on that, sincerely. If you're getting your vaccine advice from me, is that really my fault?
It's not the story that bothers people. It's the packaging, the polish, the unrelenting feeling that everything, including the sadness, is part of the brand. If Meghan really wanted to show raw vulnerability, she could have skipped the production crew and recorded from her kitchen with an iPhone. Instead, we got something that felt more like a Sundance submission than a confessional. Joe and Meghan didn't have to sit together or even share notes. They just reacted the way most of the public did, with a healthy mix of disbelief and secondhand embarrassment. Joe went the sarcastic, bemused route. Meghan went for the jugular. But both ended up in the same place, calling out the charade for what it was: emotional manipulation dressed up as empowerment. And perhaps the most ironic part of it all, Meghan Markle is better at staying in the headlines by trying to escape them than most celebrities are by chasing them. It's like she's mastered the art of disappearing in 4K. One minute she's a royal, the next a rebel, then a podcaster, then a victim. It's a one-woman rebrandathon, and every episode comes with a carefully cued emotional subplot.
Someone who's also acting as a founder inspired this scene from the With Love, Meghan, Megyn, Maureen and I, before we did Blonde Origin. And here's a clip from that special production.
Where are you getting all these like mini brainstorms? I'm so impressed by this.
You have to be a founder to really,
I guess,
understand it fully, but maybe in the next wave of our friendship, I'll try to explain it to you. Hold that tight, please.
Okay.
This, of course, didn't come out of the ether. I want to play for you the latest bit from her podcast, which is called Confessions of a Female Founder. Here she is.
I think about big milestones for my own business with As Ever. I mean, Netflix coming on as my business partner, huge. Just having a global powerhouse that believed in me, and the site selling out in the first 45 minutes of launch, every single piece that we had been working on, that told me that customers, people believed in me and this vision. That's all you really want as a founder.
The only thing she found was a rich, famous...
And just when you thought Meghan's podcast couldn't get more performative, along comes a perfect tag team. The unlikeliest duo since peanut butter met pickles, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly. Two vastly different species from opposite ends of the media jungle. One roams the smoky, neon-sign wilderness of podcast brodom. The other, A surgically sharp verbal scalpel who could dissect a press release before coffee gets cold. Yet here they are in a weirdly beautiful dance of disdain, twirling in synchrony around one glorious conclusion. Meghan Markle's tears came with the director's cut. Joe, ever the casual demolition expert, didn't swing with a hammer. No, he pulled out the toolkit labeled existential mockery. His takedown was like watching someone dismantle a Faberge egg with a cigarette and a podcast mic. He didn't need to scream fraud. He just tilted his head, smirked mid-sentence, and let the weight of sarcasm do the rest. The man essentially performed a passive-aggressive eulogy for Meghan's credibility. Bravo.
Out with Meghan and Harry since they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military service, I can only criticize so much because I haven't. And there's nothing that compares to military service. But they're ridiculous after that. They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want it.
Meanwhile, Meghan didn't just call out the acting. She mapped the emotional timeline against Spotify's release schedule. It wasn't so much commentary as it was a forensic crime scene breakdown. The verdict? Not a spontaneous breakdown. It was an emotional IPO launch. Meghan wasn't crying for help. She was crying for conversion rates. 2 personalities, 2 styles, but one universal truth. Those tears didn't come from soul. They came from a marketing team. Meghan's vulnerability hit harder than a Hallmark movie marathon and felt about as real. Because let's face it, if you start sobbing right as the background music swells and the podcast logo slides in, that's not a breakdown. That's the opening scene. And while everyone else might have grabbed tissues, Joe and Meghan grabbed popcorn and a magnifying glass. This wasn't empathy. It was exposure. But we're not done. Oh no. Because what do you do when someone delivers a performance so breathtakingly melodramatic? So perfectly lit by podcast studio lighting, it makes a soap opera look like cinema verite. You throw an award show, obviously.
Strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. You know, just take a hint from the Queen, the recently departed.
Never complain, never explain, and rarely be heard speaking in public.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
Picture it, a glamorous, candlelit room full of disbelieving commoners and blinking royal advisors. Cue the dramatic silence. Cue the single fake tear gliding down a cheek. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about mocking emotion. It's about exposing when emotion becomes a tool, when crime becomes content, when tragedy gets monetized by the minute. Meghan didn't just blur the line between pain and promotion. She live streamed it, edited it, and hit publish. And here's your final mic drop, Meghan. Hope it lands softly. When your brand is built on pain, make sure your script doesn't show through the tears. But the tears? Still missing. Somewhere, a lone tear is rolling down an acting coach's cheek. Not for Meghan, but for performance that could have been. The royal family may deal in crowns and castles, but Meghan? She deals in narratives. And this latest one came with all the dramatic flair of a prestige TV pilot. Right down to the musical swell and the pause before she cried. So, what do we learn? That Joe Rogan can sniff out phoniness like a truffle pig in a Hollywood forest. That Megyn Kelly has a sixth sense for media manipulation. And that Meghan Markle, once again, has underestimated the public's ability to smell a scripted sob story from a mile away. If she was aiming for empathy, she missed, and hit satire. If she was hoping for connection, she got commentary. And what if she truly believed this podcast moment would be her most authentic yet? She should probably listen to the playback. But hey, maybe next time she'll actually cry, or at least hire a sound editor who can add in some sniffling for effect. Until then, Meghan Markle remains a queen of curated chaos.